When you need to find the percentage of an amount, for example, 32% of 75, there's a handy trick that many people don't know about. 32% of 75 is the same as 75% of 32. Let's have a look at how this can help us, why it works, and when it's useful. This is Mr. Butler Maths. Calculating 32% of 75 is quite tricky. We could work out what 10% of 75 is and what 1% of 75 is and use this to work out what 32% of 75 is, but there's a much quicker way. Instead, we could just find 75% of 32. 75% is the same as 3 over 4, 3/4. To find the value of 3/4 of 32, I first need to find the value of 1/4. 1/4 of 32 is 32 divided by 4, which is 8, and 3/4 of 32 is 3 times 1/4, so 3 times 8. So 3/4 of 32 is 24. Therefore, 32% of 75 is 24. We've managed to make quite a tricky calculation much easier by using this trick. Let me give you another quick example. Let's say I need to find 58% of 50. Well, using my trick again, 58% of 50 is the same as 50% of 58. 50% is equal to a half, so I just need to find half of 58. 58 divided by 2 is 29. So 1/2 of 58 is 29. Again, I've made this much easier for myself by using this trick. Let's now look at why this works. The maths involved here is actually quite straightforward. Let's put 32% of 75 on the left-hand side of the screen and 75% of 32 on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, there are two things we need to remember about the percentage of an amount. 32% is the same as 32 over 100, and in this context, of means time. So 32% of 75 is the same as 32 over 100 times 75. Now let's play around with this a little bit. 32 over 100 times 75 is the same as 32 times 75 all over 100. And we know that 32 times 75 is the same as 75 times 32. That's called the commutative law. Therefore, I can just write this as 75 times 32 over 100. Now, just as I did above, I'm going to separate out one of those numbers in the numerator and write this as 75 over 100 times 32. Okay, so how does that help us? Let's jump across to the right-hand side now. Just as I did on the left-hand side, I can write 75% as 75 over 100, and I remember that of in this context means times, so 75% of 32 is the same as 75 over 100 times 32. And that's exactly what I wanted to show. I've shown that the left-hand side is equal to 75 over 100 times 32, and the right-hand side is equal to 75 over 100 times 32. So 32% of 75 is equal to 75% of 32. I've seen this trick talked about online before, often with the question of why didn't they teach us this in school? And I want to try and answer that question. This trick saves you a lot of time, but it isn't always helpful. In the previous examples, it's worked well because the quantity was a nice number. It was 75 or 50. However, this trick isn't very helpful when the quantity isn't a nice round number. For example, let's suppose I was asked to find 63% of 48. Okay, let's try and use my trick. 63% of 48 is the same as 48% of 63. Okay, now what's 48% of 63? I'll be completely honest, I don't know how to do 48% of 63 in my head. Unlike the previous examples, I can't easily convert 48% into a nice fraction that I can work with. This doesn't mean that I can't work it out, but instead I have to rely on my other knowledge of finding the percentage of an amount. And by that, I mean I would find 10% of 63, which is 6.3, and use that to work out 40% of 63, which is 25.2. I would then find 1% of 63. 1% of 63 is 0.63. I would use that to work out 8% of 63 by multiplying it by 8 to give me 5.04. So I've now worked out what 40% of 63 is, and I've worked out what 8% of 63 is. And now I'm going to add my 40% to my 8%, and in total I will get that 48% of 63 is 30.24. So I've still been able to work this out, but finding 48% of 63 is no easier than finding 63% of 48. So here, my trick hasn't helped me at all. Knowing this one trick about percentages is not sufficient to be able to find the percentage of an amount. And that is why this may not always be taught in school. I hope this video has taught you a trick that's handy in some contexts, but also helps you understand what the limitations of this trick are. As always, if you leave a like on this video, that really helps me out. And if you want to find your way back to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys.